Thank you, Acting Speaker, and it's a pleasure to rise today to speak on this motion and celebrate International Women's Day like all those who have spoken before me. Many in this place today have remarked on how important it is to celebrate women every day, and I certainly could not agree more with that sentiment. But more importantly, I think it is incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we are empowering women every day and ensuring that equality of opportunity is at the heart of everything that we do in this place. Acting Speaker, over the past week I've had the privilege to speak at a number of International Women's Day events. One last Friday in this place in Queen's Hall for the Alliance of Girls' Schools, and one this morning at Kew High School, which has been an incredible opportunity to meet with young female aspiring leaders, whether that's in politics or in the business community or in the community sector, and hear from them and hear their questions and their concerns as they leave school over the coming years. As I said on Friday, I was delighted to host, alongside the Shadow Minister for Health, Georgie Crozier, in the other place, the Alliance of Girls' Schools. And we had over 25 schools from across Victoria attend the breakfast, which was a fantastic way to bring young women into this place and talk about the opportunities that there are for them to get involved in politics, to champion issues, whatever they might be. And we did remark on the fact that it is 100 years since we saw women first allowed to stand for this place, stand for here, and a few years later saw women elected to this place. And it was fantastic to hear from them the questions and the deep thinking they've given to this issue. And very similar this morning at Kew High School, where I must give a shout out to the school captains Tash and Emily, who did a wonderful job moderating the conversation this morning, and spoke about the importance of why we need to continue to celebrate International Women's Day, why we need to still champion women's rights and particularly equality and equity for women in all parts of society. And among the many questions they asked this morning was, do we need to do more to see women in politics? And I think the answer to that question is absolutely always. We always need to want to see more women in politics. Women represent over 50% of the community, and we want to make sure that this place represents the community. So anything that I can do to make sure I can encourage those within the Liberal Party to put up their hand over the years ahead, I will do. And I was very proud a number of years ago now, when I was much younger, to be awarded the Dame Elizabeth Couchman Scholarship by the Liberal Party and to go overseas to the United States and learn from what both the Democrats and the Republicans do to encourage more women into the Congress, into the Senate and into their state legislatures in the United States. And it's learnings that I was able to take back to the party here and hopefully see those learnings implemented over the years ahead. As I said, we have many impressive young women, whether that's in the Kew electorate or right across Victoria, but today I wanted to give a shout out to some local women in the Kew community who work every day to make our community stronger. Now, the member for Hawthorn, the Leader of the Opposition, spoke earlier and he mentioned a couple of these names, but I think it's only right that I take the opportunity to mention them again today, because they are selfless in what they give to society and they are stalwarts of our local community in a number of ways. So, to begin with, Amanda Donoghue from Servants Community Housing. As the member for Hawthorn said, servants help people on low incomes find safe, affordable housing and a community that they can thrive in. They have 4 houses across Boroondara, 2 of which are in the Kew electorate, and they have over 100 residents at those houses that they support. And Amanda is a tireless worker for these residents. She gives up her time and time again to make sure that she's promoting their interests in the local community, their interests when she's meeting with representatives like myself and my colleague, the member for Hawthorn, and other influential people in the political sphere, and of course what she can do to expand servants. And as the member for Hawthorn said earlier, they have established a house that is for women who are victims of domestic violence, and this is a really important local community site that women can feel safe and that they are able to take refuge in after these awful incidents. So Amanda is one of our many powerful local women, but I wanted to mention her today. And in a similar vein, Reverend Reverend Natalie Dixon-Monu from Boroondara Community Outreach is one of the hardest workers I have ever met. She runs a community organisation based in Kew that provides support and emergency relief for those who are vulnerable in our community. And she is consistently providing that food relief, that support, whether it's making sure that those who need it might need assistance with Myki, might need access to government assistance. She's there to help at all points. And to a good friend and someone who is an inspiration as a local small business owner, Anna Salzano. Anna is the president of the Balwyn North Traders Association and works every day to try and boost the confidence of small businesses in the North Balwyn village. She makes sure that there are always local activities happening, that she's advocating on their behalf, whether that's around safety concerns, around the speed limit, or looking at opportunities to increase the tenancy of North Balwyn village. To Han Tran from AVA Boroondara, the Australian Vietnamese Association Senior Citizens Club that's based in Boroondara, Han is consistently organising local events for the senior Vietnamese community in the local area, bringing them together for song and dance, and most importantly for that sense of community that's been so important, particularly over the last few years. And I know she went to great lengths during the pandemic to make sure that continued through Zoom and other means, which would have been not the easiest thing to do when you sort of rely on song and dance. And then, as the member for Hawthorn mentioned, to Jane Stewart and to her Nia, who is part of the It's the Little Things community, another local community group that gives back to the local community. Jane and her husband Grant started the organisation during COVID, whereby they wanted to provide food relief for people who needed it, especially during the pandemic. And it has grown remarkably quickly, now operating out of a commercial kitchen, providing tens of thousands of meals over the last few years to those who need it in the local community. And Maddie Murdoch, who is the president of the Bellevue Kinder, she's working tirelessly at the moment to make sure that the local Kinder can be adapted to the reforms that are coming in place. To Penny Cornwell, the president of Kew Rotary. Penny is always out there looking for opportunities to make sure that Rotary is giving back to the community. I was delighted to attend their gala fundraiser dinner just recently. To my good friend Vivian Harkness, who runs Boroondara Stroke Support Group and organises the Sing for Recovery Choir to give those who victims of stroke and those who are recovering from stroke an opportunity to make sure that they are able to sing and come together and create that sense of community. And then finally, Speaker, I think, we have more than 32 schools in the electorate of Kew, and more than half of those principals are women, and incredibly powerful women at that. And I obviously can't mention them all today, but a few shout-outs. To Davina Bate at Giant Steps, who does such important work for students with autism. To Robin Thompson at St Bridget's Primary, a wonderful local primary school in Balwyn North. And to Josie Millard at Kew High School, who works very, very hard to make sure she is growing a very inclusive and very an outstanding local high school. And just finally, I'd like to speak about two people who I brought into the Parliament today, to Svetlana and to Liza Svelvi, who are refugees from Ukraine. They arrived in Australia about 8 months ago after fleeing the war in Ukraine. They spent 10 days in a basement while shells fell, and they managed to escape to Poland and then were able to come out here to Australia. And Lisa, who's in grade 2 at Sacred Heart Primary School, just a couple of weeks ago, after only a few months at the primary school, was elected class captain. And a very, very special story, and her mum, of course, is very, very proud. And I had the privilege to present her school badge there last week, and then to bring them into this place today and take the opportunity while we were on lunch break to bring her into this chamber and let her sit in the chamber was a very special moment for her and her mum. And I hope that Lisa can take away how important it is to see democracy in action, watching Question Time today, as she looks back to her family that are still in Ukraine, still fighting for democracy over there. So as we mark International Women's Day, it's a great honour to speak on this motion, and I wish happy International Women's Day to everyone.